Is the Jesus we find in the New Testament historical? Well, yes and no. First of all, I don't think we get a unified view of Jesus in the New Testament. Instead, whenever we read the Gospels, each of the Gospel writers writes with their own agenda and has their own version of Jesus. With that being said, I think we have two broad versions of Jesus. The first is the one that we find in the Synoptic Gospels, Mark, Matthew, and Luke, where Jesus is a traveling rabbi who teaches primarily in parables. And the second is the Jesus we find in the Gospel of John, who has these long, eloquent speeches and performs signs to show who he is. The Jesus we find in the Gospel of John is not historical, and I think the Jesus we find in the Synoptic Gospels is much more likely to be historical. We know from reading the New Testament that despite the differences in the agenda of the Gospel writers, that Jesus did spend much of his ministry breaking down social barriers, advocating for peace and justice on behalf of the marginalized, and standing up to empire. And we know that ultimately that's what got him killed, was standing up to the Roman Empire, and so the Romans crucified him. That part of Jesus' story is certainly historical.